In today's episode, we're continuing the build of my 1995 Nissan GQ Patrol TD42. Proudly supported by Tread, Superior Engineering, and in part by. Now, it's been an absolutely massive 6 months modifying this Grandpa spec GQ from the ground up to what I would consider a pretty awesome off-road car and capable of getting me all over Australia. In all the previous episodes, you would have seen us do things like GU diffs, full Superior Engineering suspension, twin Harrop e-lockers, 35s, a turbo kit, redo of the interior, some bar work. This episode is finishing off all the last bits and pieces so the rig is ready to hit the tracks. It's going to be a cool episode. Make sure you stick around as we run through these final things. First place we're taking the GQ in this episode is 4x4 One Stop Shop in Sydney. This is where we had done some of the interior and exterior work in one of the earlier episodes. I just had to go back there to finalise a few bits and pieces. We put some new clear indicators in the front grille. These are obviously just much nicer, clearer, and they're clear the whole way through. They do still have the orange globe in them, which you need. We replaced a couple of very old and worn out rubber seals on the car. This seal on the inside of the window here, it's just torn to pieces. And we went through and chucked some weather shields on the windows. But then the main job we were doing there was some fresh body mounts for the GQ. Mine were very old and worn out. They had a lot of movement in them. Near 30-year-old car, it's a good idea to replace them. As the name states, body mounts, they are the rubber connection point between the body of your car and the chassis of your car. So putting some new ones in should give a little bit comfier ride, gain a bit of clearance back because the old ones were so sagged and squished down, and just a stronger, sturdier connection point there. There starts to get way too much movement between the body and chassis when they get very old and worn out. So that's a fresh one you got there in your hand.
Yep.
And that's obviously the old one there next to it.
Yeah.
How many are there to do?
10.
As Aidan said, there are 10 body mounts. 2 at the front, 2 at the back, and 6 in the middle underneath the flooring, so it does require you to pull up some of your flooring to get access to them, and then yeah, they're just a nut and bolt, so you have to go around, undo all the bolts out of all 10 holes, and then with a hoist lift just the cab up a bit off the chassis, so you got room there to pull those body mounts out and slot the new ones in, and then put your bolt back in, retighten everything up. When dealing with very old bolts, you're always hoping that things go well. On GQs, the back 2 bolts are known to give you grief. Aidan hadn't actually faced this problem before, but on mine, we faced that problem today. The back bolts are actually held in by like a captive nut on top there, where you undo them from underneath. Captive nut doesn't have a very strong hold on them. On mine, they let go, so they're just sitting in there free spinning, which then meant that we had to basically drill a bit of a hole or grind out a bit of a hole in the back floor so we could get in, pull that captive nut off, hold the top of the bolt, and then undo it from underneath. So that was a little bit of a drama that we had to sort through, but we got it done. Here's all some of the old ones that are coming out. And that's it, fresh body mounts all done and tidied up those few bits and pieces. Time to head off to the next place. Next stop, next modification was to on the side fab for a rear quarter chop so that we could fit the rear bar. So Paul was just saying I should have chopped it before I painted it, but I didn't. It was just very hard to get the perfect timing of everything in this build and get everything to line up, so, but that's alright. Now the idea behind a quarter chop is to cut these panels along here. The reasons for a quarter chop are increased clearance at the back there, so you're not smashing in those bottom panels. They allow for more clearance for your 35-inch tyres as well. As 35s flex up, they move back and they smash into that back area. That's why you sort of chop it away there. They also mean that the rear bar, so I'm putting on a quarter chop rear bar from Razorback, you can mount them stronger, because normally you're just mounted with bolts at the back of the chassis, but with the quarter chop you can put a bar in from the side and bolt them onto the chassis on the side as well, so it makes your rear bar very strong, sturdy, not any movement up into it to smash up into tail lights. They're your main reasons, plus I think it just looks better. So what's the plan? Grab a grinder out and close your eyes and start grinding?
Take the rear bar off first,
yeah.
Tape it up so we've got a nice straight cut line. Take your mud flaps off and then start cutting.
And then because you've got like a gap in the body where you cut off, yes, you have plates that you can weld in to fill that gap.
Yeah.
And then we seal it up, paint it up.
Yeah.
There's a big difference there now. One done, now the other one gets done to match.
So when you're doing this at home, you only want the disc to just cut through that outer sheet at the moment, because there are cables that actually hang down in here. Yeah, okay. And they normally sit just off that edge, so if you push the disc right in, guarantee you'll nick those cables. Yeah, okay. So that's the same on the other side as well. Yeah. So once you've taken that out, that's why I normally cut down there to open it, then I'll tuck all the cables back up and then I'll just go for it.
There's that loom there. So that's two sides chopped. So what is that, just 3mm metal or something? Put up in there.
Offer up just like that.
Yeah, and then weld it on.
Yeah. It's easier to buy them for the price. Like for how much I paid for them, I couldn't make them for that. I think they cost me $25 a pair.
Yeah, okay. So, pretty cheap.
Yeah. Not worth me even trying to do it.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm going to trim out of this plate just to make it suit your body.
Yep.
So they're usually slightly bigger just to allow for
so there it is, cut and new plate welded on. As you can see, it would have been much better to paint it after this. But yeah, we'll just try and patch this up best we can. It's got some black, like underbody protection paint, and I'll just make a black line around there. I've never painted anything in my life, so this is going to be horrible. And when someone next asks, why don't you do your own work to your car, I'll just show them this video. And then they'll know.
So this is take one of Dad's dumb decisions.
Yeah.
We're just starting a new episode.
Yeah. So yeah, we're going to fix that up later. That's just to stop the rust. Next mod was a roof rack, a roof platform actually from Runva, and this was done at S&P Complete Automotive. I was doing this in the background during that week that we were installing the turbo. The Runva roof racks come in a couple of boxes, flat packed, kind of like an IKEA box, and you pull it out, assemble the puzzle, bolt it all together, and then you can get it up on your roof. I debated whether or not to put a roof rack on this car because I want to keep weight minimal and down low because it's a tough track, four-wheel drive, but with a few big trips coming up, we really just needed it. It was a place to put the treads up on the roof, the awning for weather protection, and then a couple of swags. Otherwise, it's just too squished in the car with Kino. It works better being up there. So I got the flat and base part of the rack built. We've just gone on and mounted all the legs. I'm just going to go along and tighten them all up a bit so that they only have like a little bit of movement in them, not that they're just literally flopping around everywhere. And then we can lift it up on there and get the spacing right for them all, and then be able to clamp them down using the outer ones. And then another little tip is I always get a flat rack. That way you can put a rooftop tent up on there quite easily later on if you decide to do that. So I'm thinking the rooftop tent that was on the nav that I sold, I've kept that. When we're doing some more touring trips in it, touring in the GQ, I'll be able to bolt the rooftop tent up there. That's it, all on, tightened up. So it's pretty good. Obviously it can't be too much lower because the roof comes up in the middle there and you won't have enough gap. So yeah, pretty happy with that. The next job, and this was done on the same day at S&P, was a Razzler rear bar to suit the quarter shell. So I just got the one, you can get them with like dual jerry can holder, but I just got them with the spare wheel carrier only. So I'll just fill up that side then, and we won't need to move the number plate, and you should be able to get straight in and out of this door. And I just wanted to keep weight down as much as possible down the back of the car. So obviously a spare tyre I have to have, that's not optional, and that's the best place to put it. But 40 litres of water and extra bracketry and stuff, you know, extra 50 kilos. I didn't have to have that down the back, so that's why I didn't worry about that. And I'm still going to leave the tow bar there in case I do want to tow with this car. You obviously lose a little bit of clearance there, but it's not too bad. You still got all your clearance around the side and that, where you commonly smash things anyway. Got it mounted on there, so it has 2 bolts here and 2 bolts over there, which hold it onto the chassis. And then because we've done a quarter chop, it actually bolts in onto the chassis under there too. But the idea behind them is just extra strength, so when you're bashing it here, it literally can't move. And then we've just got to make the spare tyre holder fit.
Yeah, grease the bearing, and then they go in, and there's also a seal.
And then that's just what it like runs on, what it pivots on.
Yeah.
Down here at 12 today, auto electrical, doing some dual battery install. I did get a haircut too. Couldn't deal with the long hair anymore in summertime, it's too much. Now it's going to be a reasonably simple dual battery setup this time. I've gone with the Red Arc gear, and I've just gone with a portable dual battery box. So it's the Go Block, 100 amp hours of lithium. The only problem with it is it doesn't have an inverter attached to it, which I do need for camera gear. But I got a small inverter off Red Arc 2, so it's just a 350 watt one, and then it can like a cable connection for it, so you can run it directly with the dual battery box. And I'll just need that little inverter there for charging some of my camera gear and stuff like that, but I don't need a big fancy one. I'm not going to be running induction cooktops or anything crazy. Similar to the GU, I wanted to run a dual battery system that wasn't really permanent, just something I could mount for trips and pull in and out, and quite versatile, use it where I wanted to. Alright, so I've just unboxed it out of the box. Now there's your Red Arc Go Block. Open it up, you got your charge points. Mitch is just wiring up the wire for it now. So we've run an Anderson plug down to the boot to run it. And why is that? Like, what's the benefit of, because it comes with a few charging, so you can plug it into a cigarette lighter or a wall socket. Yeah.
With the Go Block, the quickest way to charge it is via Anderson plug direct to your alternator.
Yeah.
So that's a heavy duty battery feed to the alternator via a fuse. It plugs into the back of the Go Block, and internally there's a 50 amp DC to DC charger.
It can receive 50 amps of charge per hour direct from your alternator, so it's a super fast charging thing. So if it's dead flat, providing your alternator is working properly, you have full charge in like a couple of hours. And then on it, so you've just obviously got like you got a fridge socket there to plug into, an accessory socket there. So it's got 4 USB sockets on it. Anderson, is that where I'll plug it into?
Yeah, so that would be for a heavier load like an inverter. So it's actually a 50 amp output, possibly plug up to a 700 watt inverter into that, but your 350 watt will be fine. So the charge Anderson coming from the vehicle plugs in behind you.
Yeah, okay.
Small flap.
Yeah, okay. So we just put it, when I want to use it, I'll just chuck it in the boot, plug it in there, and it will be good to go.
And it's important to remember that'll charge from DC from the vehicle, but also from a solar panel as well.
So it can pretty much, there's a battery box that can do everything.
Yeah, it's actually a really, really handy box. For what you get in there is really good value.
That's the little 350 watt inverter there out of the box. That's the connection cord Red Arc give you to go with it. Mitch is just finishing off this wire now, so it just comes out the back there. We've left some length so that way I can sort of plug it into the go block wherever it is. With the back setup of this Patrol, I've got a single drawer here from Drifter, just one of their basic drawers. So probably the ideal will be the drawer will go over the other side, and then I'll have the fridge and go block on this side when we're away, and depending on what else I can fit there, and then I'll just be able to stack a bit of stuff around it and on top. And then the last thing that we're doing the Savo is getting this car set up for towing as well. So I can tow the camper trailer with either the GQ or the GU. And now I asked Mitch, because he's the towing expert, I've already said that I have a tow bar. That's obviously the first thing you need for towing. But then you need some cables. So like, what else do you need to be able to tow?
So, I mean, there's a lot of different setups and how they're done, but the most common is an Anderson plug and a trailer plug with electric brakes.
Yeah, so what does the Anderson plug do?
So in most applications, the Anderson plug will either run a fridge in a caravan or charge batteries, or both.
The trailer plug, what's that one do?
Yeah, so a trailer plug operates your basic signals, you know, parker, brake lights and indicators, but it also has your electric brake wiring. You can hook it up to a brake controller in the car and it stops the trailer whilst you stop.
So then the brake controller is Tow Pro Elite Red Arc one.
Yep, so this is their newest version, the version 3. I guess the best feature about this controller is it's got a little dial, so mounting it's quite simple.
Yeah.
It's really neat. It's really easy to use, but it's a proportional unit. So when you brake, it'll measure how hard you're braking, and if needed, it'll actually increase the braking to the trailer without you having to touch the dial. If your trailer is fitted with brakes, you must have one of these in the vehicle.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Down here today at On The Side Fab again, and he has a nice new garage built now so we can work in and got a bit more room. Just in the process of moving the stuff from the shed to the garage here. But yeah, Paul, who built all the previous bar work for the car as well, bull bar, front scrubs and the rock sliders. Down here today we're going to do rear scrubbies. Basically, when I first started building this, I always had this plan in my head that I was going to chop it in the next 12 months. So I didn't want to spend too much money down the back protecting it all and that, but then as I've built it as a wagon, I'm beginning to like it more and more, and I want to leave it as a wagon for a fair while / potentially forever. I'll see what happens. But going to Tassie, this is one of the last jobs before we go, so I'm leaving in a bit over a week now, and yeah, I want to do some scrubbies down the back. Otherwise, guaranteed, I'm going to smash this back end down on Tassie, then I'll have to chop it, which... yeah, not ready to do yet. So basically the same as what the front's got there, scrub bars. We're going to build some down the rear here. So they're going to come from the slider up over there, down into the rear bar. We'll probably do like along there, down into there, sort of end at the tail light to protect all that. And then we'll do a centerpiece up there for extra protection and supports basically any hits. In the back end there, the car will be protected. So there's our scrub bar there that Paul's built, just cut it in half so you can put the Camberg joiner in it, so that obviously you can get that half of it off with the rear bar and that half off with the slider, so if you ever want to pull your bar work off you can, otherwise it's possible to get off. We're going to put it back and just join it all up, make sure it's all sitting nicely, and then start welding after that, do we?
Yep.
These scrub bars, same tubing as you've used for the other ones. And what is the tubing again?
It's 40 nominal bore, 3.2 medium wall.
That's the main piece there, tacked on, and then we just got to get that centerpiece in, which you've made up there now.
Yep, might just need a little bit of trimming, but other than that...
That'll obviously be extra support and protection and
You can
looks.
still open up your fuel lid.
Yeah, that's what you want.
Grind the paint off that. I'll tack it onto this. I'll take it off, I can weld that on. Then I'll just tape up them, give it a wipe over with thinners, get any grease off of it. Then we'll give it a quick spray.
So obviously the idea would have been to paint these rear scrub bars when we got everything else powder coated, but because this was a last minute idea of mine before I go to Tassie, it meant we couldn't get everything done. So it's just sort of, yeah, hand paint these rear scrub bars and patch things up as best we can, but that's all you can really do because I came up with the silly timeline of the plan. So you're done, are you?
Yep.
Finger painting time.
Bit of black paint, no one will be none the wiser.
That's it, all done. Finished up late last night, back home the next day, walked outside to film and it started raining. Perfect. Always happens. Yeah, pretty happy with how they came out. We matched that height to the front height, but looking back, I reckon maybe I should have brought it a bit lower. I got Paul to bring it a little bit lower to sort of run just on the top of that fuel cap. With the back there, like obviously you got a big gap there now. You sort of could have brought that forward a bit and down there. But then obviously if it's more forward and you're sliding along anything, once the bar finishes, kabam, into your tail light. So it's kind of hard to find that balance between looks and protection, but I still think it looks pretty good. And protection wise, it's definitely, yeah, gonna save that rear end and make things a hell of a lot better when you sort of pivot into banks and rocks and trees and all that sort of stuff. So the car is just about ready for our trip. High mount winch has to go on, which I have in the back. When I got it, it was missing a couple of things that I've had to order, and I've got them sent straight to Tassie. So when first day I get to Tassie, we're going to be finished building and installing the high mount winch, and then it's going to be all ready for action. So this mod is very last minute. I'm actually already in Tasmania, first day here. I'm pretty tired because I got off the ferry about 4:45 this morning. The ferry arrived. But we have the big high mount winch to install on the GQ. So there's the winch in pieces because we have to do some mods to it. And then it's going on that bull bar there. We're gonna have to cut that grill out to make it fit, a couple little bits and pieces. The winch is a worn high mount winch. Do you remember what it is?
8274.
So I had it made for me by a guy. It's a second-hand worn winch that's been rebuilt. Yeah, he sort of buys them second-hand, adds on all the fresh parts, and then resells them on. They do cost a little bit of money. Fairly expensive, cost me like $3.5 grand to buy off him. And then I've spent another like 500 bucks on extra parts we're going to do to it to make it super strong. So let's back up for a sec. First of all, you may know the answer better than me. Why a high mount winch? Like, what's the benefit of spending 3 times the money on a high mount winch?
The biggest thing is they obviously pull faster than a normal low mount winch, because rather than end on end planetary gears, they have, I don't know what the actual technical term is, but the gears are over the top of each other. That actually gives you the ability to gear it better, and it pulls harder, faster. They're super simple, really reliable, and the biggest thing is they have a lot of mods available off the shelf that you can modify and make them, you know, faster, make them geared lower. You can add motors, you can upgrade motors.
Pretty much turn them into a competition winch if you want.
Yeah.
But the main thing is, like, they pull faster, much harder, and they don't get hot. Like, you can just pull for hours.
Exactly.
And nothing goes wrong with them.
Yeah.
Basically, mine came with a standard brake on it.
Yeah, so that's the standard brake shaft there.
Yeah.
The only thing that holds these in the case is this card that sits in the back of the winch, and that goes in like that and locks it in place. And that doesn't always retain it because this card can slip up. My mate, Drew, up in the Cape, actually his whole brake assembly fell straight out of the side of the winch.
Yeah, okay.
The other thing is it's really hard to assemble and service because it can be a drama pressing the brake all together onto the end and then getting a circlip on. And so that's where the giggle pin replacement brake comes in, because it's got a circlip that holds it in the case so it can't slip out, like I mentioned before. And it's also got an Allen key head bolt, a retainer that pulls the brake down so you don't have to try and get a circlip on the end of it.
Yeah, so it makes the internals of it much stronger and it won't come apart on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so like, Obviously the basic setup of these can handle normal winching fine, but when we do dumb things and pull them really hard,
Yeah.
that's where you kind of need some of the upgraded internals and stuff on them.
Yeah, definitely. This is one of the things I'd do. Just if I bought a high mount, I'd have a giggle pin brake in it.
Yeah.
I'd have the free spools sorted out.
Yeah, so that's the other thing we're going to do today, delete the free spool, because they pop off under load.
And so that's the free spool delete there.
Right now is we're going to rebuild this winch with the upgraded gear. We're then going to pull the bull bar off, install it on the car, and wire it up in the cab with in and out switches. 1 hour job.
1 hour job. Oh, that's beautiful. So we got that plate all installed, which is the retainer for the brake, and now we just put the bush in, then the quad seal ring, I think it's called, and then the last one of these. Then we're going to sit it down there and we'll get the gears in. The main drum gear, we're going to sit that in there like that. This plate here, this is the new supplied one from Gigglepin. That's going to go underneath that. And just so that you've got the big opening ready for the brake shaft to go in, we're going to put the intermediate gear in. And then lastly, you might need a mate to do this, but basically this is going to go around the brake shaft as we slot that in. I should be able to handle, but we'll see how we go. So you basically just want to tap this brass bush into there so that it's got enough depth in there for that to go in after it, which is your oil seal for the brake. So now it's time for the brake to go on. We're going to put each piece of the brake on.
What does the brake actually do, like when you talk about a brake on a winch?
When this brake shaft feels load, what happens is it rides up on the cam like that. See how that thing rose up?
Yeah.
And that squashes all the brake together with the brake pads, and that's what makes it all lock up to start pulling.
That's putting pressure back on that brake, and that's where things go wrong with the weaker ones. When there's a lot of tension and load on that brake, and what it pushes it off. Pushes like the brake end off or whatever, pushes it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But this one can't do that.
No, this one's going to be fully sick, mate.
Fully hectic.
Yeah, that's it. So that's basically the bearing for the brake. Yeah, we've got them all. And so this is where the giggle pin brake makes life a lot easier, because when you're putting together the factory worn one, you've got to try and compress all this together while getting a circlip on the end of the shaft. Whereas with this, all we have to do is get it start getting it pressed down a bit, and then all you do is tighten this on the end of it, and it brings it all home together. So now, as you can see, all of that's assembled and that brake shaft's been replaced. And so now we can slot the drum into here, making sure that we've got all these pieces in there. So that's got the inner bush, then the quad ring, and then this. So see that card thing? Remember that card thing that we put in?
Yeah.
That's the only thing that holds this drum in there.
Yeah, okay.
And so you can see it slipping down there.
Yeah.
So that slips down into this groove here. It's pretty crazy, but that's all it's holding it. I might need you a couple of hands. Yep, a bit more. There you go. So that's all locked in now. She's built, mate.
Built, not bought. I wasn't filming, but Tim just pulled, that's your old free spool off. Pulled that out.
Now it says put the spacer onto the motor shaft.
So with these free spools, you delete them because they have a habit of free spooling the winch when you're winching in. Because everyone I've talked to said the first thing to say is to delete the free spool or change it up. When you're winching up a steep hill or something, next minute the winch will just turn into free spool. Yeah. Which, you know, could end badly for you, I guess.
Yeah, if you start free falling down a hill or something.
Yeah.
So we're just still putting this ballsy bits.
What is Ballsy Bits? Is that the brand?
Yeah, I don't know. I remember seeing an old video of Dan Kissler doing a walkthrough on his wagon when he first had it, and he had one of these on his first 8274.
Must be good then.
Must be good. Dan Kissler runs it. Winch racer man of the universe.
Hold that.
Hold that up, right? I'm just going to put a little bit of goop on this flan.
No, I can do that.
What's that?
Hold it up, right? That's in one of my abilities.
It's a part of your skill set.
Yeah.
You're good at that.
Yeah, I know. I told you I'm good at it.
So if you look in there, that's basically held that pinion there permanently. Whereas this, when you had free spool in, you used to have that pushed in like that, and that would slide the pinion gear across to engage with this. And then when you took free spool out, you pull that out and it would pull that pinion gear out of this gear. And so, as you can see, it's just a little bent arm that does that. Even that one's a bit bent.
So that's what would happen under load, that'd pop out.
I reckon, yeah. And so this just holds it engaged permanently.
No popping out now.
No popping out, mate. Not a single pop. I'm just gonna clean a bit of this old goop off here and here, and then we'll put some new schmoo on it, and then bolt the top down.
So you want a good seal on that to keep mud and water out of there.
Yeah, the full bottom of the winch is assembled, the top of the winch is assembled. We've just got to make the two together, and this is going to be really tricky, so you might have to sit that camera down. All right, that's done. So our job, mate.
Our job, got it done. Winch is done. Now what? Pull the bar off. Gonna get this winch rope on first. So we just cut the loop off the end, and then what, it goes through that. There's a hole there.
Yeah, I'm going to poke him down through this hole, and then just tie a knot on it, and then that'll hold it here.
Oh yeah, so it can't go back through.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this winch rope is a 40-meter one. I got this from Drifter. They can just make any size winch rope you want, like strength, length, however you want it. So yeah, 40-meter one. That'll go on there. Nice big winch rope.
That's it. So now we can bolt that cap back on.
Yeah. And then so we'll wind that in under tension on the car. Really?
Yeah.
This is the brace kit for it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So why do you brace them? What happens there?
So typically, as you can see by this here, the only thing that holds this cap on the drum and then the whole lot together is the 4 bolts that hold the winch to the bull bar.
Yeah, okay.
So typically speaking, that's the only thing that holds an 8274 together.
Yeah.
And so by having these rods across there, it just keeps it all as one.
They're good like base point, but you got to do stuff with them too.
Yeah, which is, I mean, the same as a Patrol, a Land Cruiser, a TD, a HZ. Like, they're all good things. They just have their issues.
Yeah.
You got to sort out. Apart from HZs, obviously, Land Cruisers aren't very good.
I don't know if Drew would allow this in his shed, mate. Yeah. This is Toyota land here.
Nah, Drew's is the only exception.
The other thing I haven't mentioned is this motor that Luke's put on it. What is that?
That's a Bullet
68.
Yeah, Bullet 6.8 horsepower.
So these winches can be run at 24 volt.
Yep.
But they got to be set up for that. We're just running it at 12 volt to begin with, a bit simpler.
Yeah, exactly. They only need like enough to go up to the bottom of the drum. That's beautiful.
You better just pull it off with your muscles, mate. Winch is mounted on the bull bar. It's going to be very heavy now. It's probably going to be a bit painful for us to lift and hold it there. So Tim's going to hang it off the roof and we'll mount it back up, and then we can start wiring. Now, if you saw the episode where we built the bull bar, we didn't have the winch yet, so we couldn't get the exact measurements we needed of how far we needed to bring everything out, where we needed to sit doors. So we just kind of guessed. I was like, we'll get it close. I'm probably going to have to cut the grill a little bit too, because these are such a big winch. A lot of people cut the grills to sit them back in a bit, rather than having everything sitting out so far. So that's what we're doing now. We obviously don't want to cut, overcut, so we're just measuring which part in there we need to cut. We'll cut that and then we can slot it back in.
There you go, mate.
She's gone. Tim's custom grills.
Just watch you don't catch any of these and they don't fall out on the way down.
Bull bar's back on and the winch. Now start wiring it up. So what did you get?
I got 50 millimetre squared cable, 10 metres of that.
Yeah.
So that's going to be for the earth and the power going from the winch to the battery.
Yeah.
With some lugs for the end. 2 rocker switches. So one is going to be power on for the winch and then in out for the winch. And then to run power to that, I usually just use either a 4 or a 5 core wire, like a trailer plug wire, or just anything with 4 or 5 cores. And you'll see why when we start wiring it.
I've got to watch you, mate. You just get stuff done. We miss all the important bits on the camera. I turn around to do nothing, and then I turn back and you're done it all. So that's going to be power, is it?
Yeah. I'm just sending that end up to the battery. I'll sit it on there and just get a length, and then I'll know how long to cut it.
So that's all you need to do, just from the winch itself, and a black and a red, like, you know, same as a battery. Black, which is earth, is it?
Yeah.
And then a red, which is power.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So you just need one of each.
For the in and out switches, the wiring that's going to go into the cab after you do this, they mount onto that bus bar somewhere, do they?
Yeah, so
down there's little tabs you plug into.
That's exactly right. So basically, if I gave this, once this winch has power, if I give one of these 12 volt, the winch is going to go in. If I gave the other one 12 volt, the winch is going to go out, and then the middle one's earth. So all that's about is just switching power to send to those tabs to tell the solenoid what to do.
Simple stuff.
Yeah. It's a lot simpler than it seems, put it that way. This is one end of the switch wire here.
Yeah.
And so basically one of these is going to be power that'll go to this isolate switch. And then that power will be isolated before it goes to the winch. So in other words, you can't use the winch until the isolator button's been pushed.
Yeah.
And so this will have an earth, a live power, a switch power, and an in and out. And that'll be the 5 signals in this 5 core wire.
And I'm just going to say, look at this professional grill cut here.
Yeah.
It's bloody stunning. I don't know who cut yours, but can't have been the same person.
Well, this one I had a PIC overlooking the task.
Yeah.
Person in charge.
Yeah.
There was no PIC with mine.
No.
Well, I was the judge, jury, and executioner of mine.
Yeah, just eyed it off and then took to it with a grinder. Big in-cab wire up.
Basically, that trailer wire's all in. I've got all the earth sorted out, and it's basically going to work like this. So in the car, you try and go in and out in the winch. Nothing works. And then turn the isolator on.
So that's how you'll... So it's not like a traditional winch where you plug in your controller and in and out. You just got it permanently wired to run in and out.
But yeah, she's all sorted.
Nearly done. The winch is on, installed, all wired up. Now we're just going to run it up under tension to a car there so we can wind it all on the drum, load it up. That's it. Winch installed, GQ fully built in the first day in Tassie. Now we're ready to begin our trip. Big couple of here for about the next 2.5 weeks. Filming, full driving, camping, putting this car through its paces. So it's all ready to go. Hopefully nothing goes wrong with it. It all survives. There's a bit of a tick there. Injector number 6 is ticking a little bit. Should be right fun. It'll survive. Can't believe what we'll turn this car into in the last 6 months or whatever it's been. It's crazy. But yeah, stoked. It's all built. Tim did an awesome job putting that winch on there. Anyways, don't know what else to say. Let's go.
Always on the grind till the sun come on us. They can never control us. Running for the prize, raise high for the toast. This is our moment. 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 Gladiator in this art of war. What you think that I've been fighting for? Got a cape on like a superhero. They rushing at me like a matador. Nah, I don't need your energy. I don't need the negativity. I'm just trying to bring my people up. Promise y'all I got the remedy. Straight to the roof, tell them we bringing the troops. We got a little surprise, you thinking that we need the truth. We give it 120, we never make an excuse. So go run and tell everybody.